Good afternoon, everyone. And I just want to give a brief statement, if you don't mind. It's been nearly 4 months since Hamas's horrific terrorist attack on October 7th, an attack that set so much heartbreak and so much devastation in motion. But let me be clear, hopelessness is not an option here. And so the United States has continued to work toward a goal that all of us should aspire to: a sustainable resolution of this conflict, so that Israelis and Palestinians can live side by side and enjoy equal measures of security, dignity, and freedom. To set us down the path toward that future, we've been working tirelessly with Qatar, Egypt, and other regional partners on a strong, compelling proposal. Our engagement is the best opportunity to reunite all hostages with their families. Hostages the Security Council has in previous resolutions urged Hamas and other groups to release. And it would enable a prolonged humanitarian pause, longer than the one we saw in November, allowing for more life-saving food, water, fuel, medicines to get into the hands of Palestinian civilians who desperately need it. If accepted and implemented, this proposal would move all parties one step closer to creating the conditions for a sustainable cessation of hostilities. The Council has the obligation to ensure that any action we take in the coming days increases pressure on Hamas to accept the proposal. We believe that the draft resolution put forward by Algeria does not achieve this end. On the contrary, this draft resolution could put sensitive negotiations in jeopardy, derailing the exhaustive, ongoing diplomatic efforts to secure the release of hostages and secure an extended pause that Palestinian civilians and aid workers so desperately need. One thing this Council can and must do is get behind the 2 humanitarian resolutions we've already adopted. That means focusing our efforts to support Special Coordinator Cog, who just this week outlined steps the UN intends to take to accelerate and expand the delivery of aid at scale. Her success, and we've been clear on this, her success is the UN's success in Gaza. We cannot afford to undermine her efforts or the sensitive negotiations taking place as we speak. Of course, for these efforts to work, the United Nations must be situated to expand the provision of aid. We know UNRWA plays a critical role in providing that assistance, which is why there must be a swift, comprehensive investigation by the UN and an independent external review by a non-UN body of UNRWA, including the serious allegations that it has employees who participated in the October 7th attack and other related issues. That is how we restore donor confidence, and it's how we ensure that nothing like this happens again. And we appreciate the Secretary General's commitment to that end. Finally, while I'm here, I also want to note new steps announced by President Biden to address the disturbing rise of settler violence in the West Bank. President Biden has long spoken out against extremist violence in the West Bank, and the executive order signed yesterday is a means of addressing these actions, including acts or threats of violence against civilians, intimidation of civilians, causing them to leave their homes, destruction or seizure of property, and acts of terrorism, all of which undermine security, peace, and stability for Israelis and Palestinians alike. Ultimately, now is the time to allow space for the sensitive hostage negotiations to proceed, to get behind Special Coordinator Cog's proposal, and to hold accountable those perpetrating violence that undermines safety and stability, because that is now how we begin to build toward a more peaceful future. Thank you, and I'll take
Camille, did you have a question?
Yes, please. So, Ambassador, how soon you are now to reach an agreement on this proposal? And regarding the draft resolution, do you mean here that it's not the time to discuss a draft at all, or you think there should be a certain language in this draft to be accepted by you?
Look, I can't give you a time frame on negotiations. Negotiations take time, but we're giving it that time. We're giving it the effort on the ground. The Qataris have spoken about this recently as well, and they are moving forward, and they're committed to seeing us bring this to a conclusion so that we can see hostages brought home and humanitarian assistance brought in at scale. What we're saying about the resolution is it's not timely. We have 2 resolutions right now that we're working to implement that deals with the humanitarian situation. It calls for a cessation of hostilities. They have given, the last resolution gave the Special Coordinator COG a mandate to move forward on addressing some of these issues. So we don't see that this resolution adds anything to what we already have, but we worry that the resolution will hurt what we're doing on the ground right now.
I think we have time for one more, James.
Ambassador, you talk about those 2 existing resolutions. The idea of those resolutions was to scale up humanitarian aid. But you heard Martin Griffiths in the Council. He talked about the need for multiple points of entry to Gaza, which Israel is not allowing. He talked about Israel's frequent rejection of much-needed items into Gaza for unclear, inconsistent, and often unspecified reasons. Is Israel not in breach of those 2 resolutions, and in fact in breach of the ICJ ruling just 1 week ago, which again urged Israel to scale up humanitarian aid?
Look, Israel, we have met with the Israelis both in Jerusalem on the ground. I met with the COGAC, who was here this week, to talk through the issues that the humanitarian community has been experiencing and working with them to see how we can address these issues. They were given a certain number of days to respond to the ICJ. I think we need to allow them the time that they have to respond to the ICJ. But I got a commitment from the COGAT that he was going to not only take the concerns that were raised by Martin and others and by me on the problems that are being experienced on the ground and see how he can better address those issues, how we can communicate better and work more closely with them. I think the Israelis understand, and this is what I heard from the Major General, that they do have a role to play in assisting humanitarian aid to get through to the people of Gaza. We do have 2 routes that have been open, and we're going to work on that. It has been.
And aid is just trickling in, and Israel's the one that can control this.
It has been, but it's more than a trickle, I have to say, James, but it's not enough. It is absolutely not enough, and we're working with all sides. There's a tremendous amount of blame in terms of the blockages being put on the Israelis. We're hearing that there's limited trucks inside. We're working on these issues. This is something that we have people on the ground working on every single day. And not only are we working with the Israelis, we're working with the UN. There's a security situation on the ground as well, and we have to be able to address those issues to ensure that the aid that we know that the people of Gaza are in need of, that it gets through. And again, I can't say more strongly that this is our highest priority.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry, we got it wrong. Sorry.
Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.
Have a nice weekend.